So writing a good case study is important and doable and can be very similar for e-commerce businesses and service providers. They humanize your business. It's not just the product. It's you and like, how did this come to be? They allow someone to try before they buy, which I'm a huge fan of when it comes to services. You get to highlight your why, your mission, your values, any causes that you care about. And it also gets someone to buy in before they actually buy from you. And it's also unique because we don't see a ton of e-commerce businesses doing this yet, but I think they're sleeping on it.
Well, hello, and welcome to season 2 of the Simple and Smart SEO show.
The podcast for solopreneurs, service providers, and e-commerce sellers who want to learn the basics of SEO in all the places it shows up.
I'm Crystal Waddell. I help Shopify store owners go from feeling like an SEO zero to your very own SEO hero in just one day using AI, UX, and other tech ninja moves.
And I'm Brittany Herzberg, SEO and case study copywriter, helping service pros increase sales without being on 24/7, using the power of SEO, story, and social proof.
Join us. We're just a couple of business besties who love learning and sharing what we've learned
as we show you how simple
and smart
SEO can be. So what are we waiting for? Let's jump in.
Yeah. Okay. So we have a very special episode of the Simple and Smart SEO Show podcast today. It is just me and B, and it's so sweet because that's exactly how we started. And B having conversations and then recording them. And yeah, we're going to do that today. B, how are you this morning?
Hi, I'm doing well. I shared with you before we started recording that I had a migraine and I was like, please go away. And it did. So I get to fully show up now.
Yay. And I'm over here detoxing from coffee because I somehow got sick on a trip last week and it completely removed my ability to drink coffee, which is insane because like I was telling V, I normally drink like 10 cups of coffee a day. So I'm over here going, what do I even do all day? Because I'm so used to just going back and forth to the Keurig to get coffee.
We just swap it out for tea.
Yep. Tea and taking Desi for a walk. So
yeah. And water. That's a thing we can drink too.
Exactly. I thought of you. I was like, you know what? I'm going to drink some water. I was like, B would be like, drink some water. And
so proud of you.
She said, yeah, thank you.
So proud. Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to get right into it because we have some news. We have some changes coming up on the podcast. And I think it'd probably be best just to maybe let you share if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. What the heck am I up to? I really have, for me, it's been like a year of healing and changes and evaluation. And one of the last things that I evaluated this year were business things. So what's the best use of my energy, my time, my resources, and where do I really want to go? And in looking at all of that, one of the things that made a little bit more sense for me was to really focus on the content, of course, that is going to have the lasting benefits like blogs and podcasts. But something that for me, I noticed needed to shift was where I'm putting that energy and those resources. So I'm talking around the fact that, because it's bittersweet, right? Because like you and I both have exciting things coming up, but it's also like, we're not going to be doing this the same way that we've been doing anymore. Mm-hmm. So the thing I'm talking around is that this is going to be the last episode with me. I'm going to be stepping away from, I know we're both making blue faces. I'm going to be stepping away from the Simple and Smart SEO show, but it's not going anywhere because Crystal's going to be at the helm now. And I'm excited to see what happens with it. I've already started a YouTube channel. I really love that. And I keep joking about it on LinkedIn, but I'm like, I am now this person who's like, why didn't I start this sooner? I really am having fun.
Right. And to think that YouTube is the one place you can actually monetize your knowledge from the get-go. It's like, it's fun. And they actually reward you for what you do there. So I haven't checked out your videos yet, but I will today.
Okay, there's only 2. Maybe today or tomorrow there will be a third one, but I'm having a lot of fun. I'm going to, the focus of it is still going to be SEO, but it's going to be SEO, social proof, and storytelling. I've got little different segments of all of those things. I'm thinking eventually, possibly at the beginning of 2024, I'm going to strip the audio and turn that into a standalone podcast. I'm really trying to, you and I talk about this often, like work smarter, not harder. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to see what happens over there. I'm excited to see what happens over here. And you and I talked about we'll probably guest on each other's things. So it's not like we're going away. It's not like we're not going to be friends. Things are just shifting from like the listener perspective. And we wanted to give you guys a heads up. And we're doing this at the beginning of the episode so we can just
get it out of the way. I like, I hate the bad news. Whenever John has a story and some sort of ending that's either going to be good or bad, I was just like, tell me the ending.
Yep.
Tell me the ending first so that I don't have to stress about it. And then I can listen to the details of the story.
Right, exactly.
Yep. So what's your YouTube channel called?
I don't have a name for it really. For right now, it's just under my name, Brittany_Herzberg. But I'm learning so much over there. Like one of the things is that you can't go by your channel name until you hit, I think, 100 subscribers. But no, you don't
necessarily true. No, because I don't have 100 subscribers. I am like pushing 40 right now. Working hard over there. And I have a channel name. So I think maybe it's just a matter of just keep posting and then eventually they'll see that you're like doing stuff and offer it up to you.
That would be lovely. I think I'm going to keep it just Brittany_Herzberg so I can have some consistency with my naming. But I'll make sure to include that link. Of course, I'll be on Instagram, LinkedIn, just like Crystal.
Yay. Yeah. And I'm going to miss you. I really am.
I know.
We were talking right before this about making new friends, and making new friends is hard, and making new friends in an industry that's still in many ways new. It's the newest industry that we've joined.
Yeah.
And last week I was at the Brighton conference in San Diego, and that was such a neat thing to be a part of. But it was the first time that I went somewhere and I looked around and I'm just like, I don't know anyone. Like I know one person, that person's not here, but I don't have any friends here. And it was a wonderful environment because it was great. I think I left with lots of friends and people I feel like I can definitely connect with. But our relationship over the last few years has been really special to me, and being able to do this podcast together has been really special. So I will miss you.
I'm going to miss you too, but we're not going to not be friends. So you're not getting rid of me yet.
Yay. Okay. Before I take us down the most like melancholy road ever, the main
Take a detour.
Yeah. Woo. Okay. Turning right here. Okay. Today we're actually going to be talking about case studies and case studies for e-commerce, which I'm so grateful for because you're the case study queen. And I just launched a new product and I was like, I want to document this. And I thought, okay, I want to document this in a professional way. So what could I call it? I'm going to call it a case study. And I was like, even I've taken your case study course and I did not do it correctly. So I'm so glad that you're here so we can talk about this. Like, how do e-commerce people do case studies? Help us out so that we can look like very smart people on the internet.
It will help you look very smart. So writing a good case study is important and doable and can be very similar for e-commerce businesses and service providers. And there are some things that we're going to talk through. Like I jotted down notes because I get too excited about talking about this. So I was like, all right, stay focused. But really what case studies allow any business, but specifically an e-commerce business to do is you've talked about this. They humanize your business. It's not just the product. It's you and like, how did this come to be? And one thing I want to come back to, so you might have to pull me back, is the different types of case studies, because that'll help you with your goal. But they allow you to humanize your business because it's not just a product. They allow someone to try before they buy, which I'm a huge fan of when it comes to services. And that's, you know, the only way that we can do that is through a case study, whether that's video or written. But this allows someone to actually see how your product works and see how it impacts someone. And you get to tell the story. You get to highlight your why, your mission, your values, any causes that you care about, things like that. And it also gets someone to buy in before they actually buy from you. If you have anything like that, the mission, the values, the causes. So there's a lot that you can do with them. And it's just really helpful. And it's also unique because we don't see a ton of e-commerce businesses doing this yet. But I think they're sleeping on it. I think that if you listen to this podcast and you decide to jump into this, I think it's going to be really advantageous for you and your business.
Okay. So an example would be the marquee letters that we're launching for 2024. We just made them for the first time for somebody, and it was an experience for sure. But the main reason why I wanted to write these stories in a case study is as a way to get indexed faster and hopefully have people who are in the area that I live in, North Carolina, find us if they're looking for marquee lighted letters. You said that there's different types of case studies. What does that mean? How many types are there?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact number of how many there are. I have my brain for case studies now lives in my case study training with all those resources, but I'll list them out for you and then we'll find out how many there are. So of course, the most common one that we think of is the customer or client case study, whether we're writing for e-commerce or service provider business, but sticking just with e-commerce, you're writing about that customer and their experience. Then you can have how that like an origin or a birth story, like how your business came to be, how the product came to be, how if there's something different, if you have another arm of your business, you could talk about it. Let's say that you have just an education arm of your business. You could even talk about that. So you've got the origin story, the customer story, even just those are the main two. Those are like the main two case studies that I like to write and I like to encourage people to write about. And with either one of those, whether you're writing about your customer or kind of like the origin story, you get to get into the why. You get to get into the process. You get to get into causes that you care about. Cause I know that's a huge thing with e-commerce is the give back factor, or if there's like a climate change thing, or that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about when I say causes. And you get to highlight that. And that's where you get people to buy in before they buy from you.
Okay, so just another quick detour here. At the conference, there was this guy that had a setup to do headshots. They did them for free. Then they'll send you an email with a link, but he does it as like a funding arm for his nonprofit because obviously so many conferences, people need headshots or whatever, and that's a great service to provide. But I'm sure on the back end, when you go to get your headshots, which I haven't got them yet, there's an opportunity to make a donation to that foundation or whatever. And I just thought that was so cool, like such a neat way to engage people in his mission. Okay. So yeah, to go back to our marquee letters, then it sounds like ours would be more of the origin story then, like why. And I can tell you the first reason why people have brought him up over the years, but my nephew's getting married. And so because of that, as you're looking for different ways to propose and all that type of stuff, like when I was looking on Pinterest, I kept seeing these marquee lighted letters to either marry me or love and the kisses and all that type of stuff. So I think maybe that could be our.
Hey guys, this is Crystal, one of your co-hosts from the Simple and Smart SEO Show podcast. If you're looking for a unique, handcrafted way to spruce up your home or office, then collagenwood.com is the perfect place for you. We are a small, woman-owned business that offers a range of beautiful wooden signs for your home or office. Our talented team of artists will work with you to create a sign that perfectly suits your needs. So why wait? Use promo code SIMPLE10 to save 10%. Visit collagenwood.com today. Save 10% with promo code SIMPLE10. That's collagenwood.com.
Yeah, definitely, especially because it's newer. And if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, this could work, I have a newer thing, then you can talk about like how you even came to think about this. Was there a certain person or a certain message that you kept getting from people? Hey, could you do some marquee letters? So you can share that. And then you can share what you're hoping to see with, for example, the marquee letters. So you can give like the different examples, right? And get people thinking, oh, I could use that for a wedding photo opportunity. I could use that for my child's whatever, like birthday party or something, just to have something fun and different. But that's the cool thing too, is you get to share your vision for how you see this product being used and being incorporated into people's memories.
Awesome. Okay. So I see you let them insert themselves into this story.
Right.
And then, okay. So then I skipped that part on accident. Just kind of jumped into making the letters and then said, "Nick, here's the letters I made." So then what do you do once you've told the story and you've had the letters? What if you haven't actually sold them yet versus you have sold them? Is there strategies that you would have to continue writing there?
Totally. So this is where I talk about we can always go back and optimize. And that's my own message for myself, which I sometimes forget. So let's say you're like, I just want to get this piece of content out and I want to share what I've got from this case study for this case study so far. You can totally do that. And you can share, you could even go back, Crystal, you could even go back to what you've written so far, talk about how this came about. And that story piece is critical. And it's not where most of our brains go. So you're not alone in that. And if you're listening and you're like, yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that either, you're not alone in that. But that's the piece that really tugs on someone's heartstrings, for one thing. And for two, they get to insert themselves in the story, just like what you said. They are the hero of the story. We've talked about Donald Miller and his messaging quite a bit. And you want that person, that reader, to be reading this blog or viewing a video or anything like that and picturing themselves using the thing. And so you really want that story piece to help them get their imagination sparking and coming up with ideas. But let's say you already have whatever you have written for your case study. You can go back and you can add that why. You can go back and you can add in like the vision for how you see people using these things, the marquee letters. I was trying to be general for anyone listening.
Right.
The things that you have. And then you can leave room for when you do have clients or when you do have customers come in and buy these things from you, the marquee letters from you, then you can insert the quotes. Then you can insert like little story snippets. So you can start the case study having a story in mind, having the visions, the pictures that you're painting for people. And then you can actually say, so-and-so said da-da-da about the marquee letters. And then you can insert a quote and share a little bit more about their story. So you could almost even have, I hadn't thought about this until just now as we're talking about it, but you can have the bigger case study, the origin story, and then you can have teeny tiny like extra stories in there about Crystal bought these marquee letters for her nephew's wedding and whatever, you can describe it. And then like Brittany brought the marquee letters for, I don't know, I'm terrible with coming up with things on the fly. Some of that she had.
Now it's making my brain go too, and I thought about this before, like trying to find a way to highlight the work that I do for senior night and the senior night gifts, because it's get the user generated content. Like I was so close to getting that user generated content from this lady the other day. And then I didn't. Like sometimes people will send me pictures unsolicited, but it almost seems if I have to solicit the picture, then it's not going to happen. But I'm thinking like it can be an ongoing story, especially for e-commerce when you're selling multiple products. It could be just like every time someone does something with that product, like you said, now you can add something back into the story. So I love that because there's so many posters and collages that I've made over the years. And I've thought about doing that before, but now I can go back and say, okay, now we're going to add this person to our poster hall of fame or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm going to totally do that and call it the poster hall of fame.
You should. And you can have a theme for it. Like you're saying, that's such a fun thing that you get to do with e-commerce that service providers don't necessarily get to do. We could if we got really creative, but you're selling a product over and over to different people for different things, for different memories, for different events. The opportunity is totally there for you to name it something fun and to continue to go back and add to that one case study or to peel it off and set it as its own case study. Something that I do want to call to attention whenever you're writing any of these case studies, whether it's like the little snippet that you're going to put in the bigger case study, or it's the bigger case study that you're going to create, like for example, the origin story with the marquee letters, you want to have the beginning, middle, and end. And I grew up, my brother and I, we were always in neighborhoods where there were always older people. And we lived in a totally different state. We were in North Carolina. Our grandparents were all in Indiana. So we ended up with a lot of, I call them fake grandparents or surrogate grandparents. And I don't know if anybody knows this, but like old people are amazing storytellers, verbal storytellers. Like they will suck you into the story and you are there with them and you want to know what happens next. We want to do that with writing. I suck at being a verbal storyteller historically, but I was like bound and determined not to be a terrible written storyteller. So I actually created a framework for myself that you can steal and use with these case studies. But essentially you want the beginning, the middle, and the end. So you want to know, like for some e-commerce products, it's going to be, there was a problem and I needed help solving this problem. And for some, it's going to be, they had this desire and I helped them fulfill on the desire, like your marquee letters. Like I want to have something fun at my wedding for like a cool photo op. That's a desire. It's not really a problem. So you've got those two avenues. So when someone is starting to read that case study, you want to start them off with that. I usually call it the problem, but it's problem or desire. So I have my PET framework. So P usually stands for problem, but it's problem/desire. So you want to start with that. What was, especially if you're writing the client or customer case studies, you really want to start with like, where were they at? What did they want to do? What did they want to have happen? Or where were they stuck? And then we can talk through, they found me on Google because of my SEO strategy. And they read through these reviews and they were really like excited about this. And then they decided to buy from me. Then you move them into the experience. You move the reader into the experience. So what was it like? What did that process look like? Did you have like super amazing shipping? Was the customer really excited with the box that they arrived in, that the letters arrived in? What was that like? Because you really want the reader to experience that. So we want to drop them in that story moment. And then the T of my pet framework is transformation. So it's like transformation, possibilities, wins. Basically, at that point, it's the after. So they used the marquee letters. They had them at this event. What did they love about them? What was that like? Have they referred other people to you? Have they bought other items from you? Has everyone at the high school now purchased the wooden letters for senior photos? So you just want to make sure that you're walking someone through a story. And essentially, it's the beginning, middle, and end. And if you have the customer case study, you can for sure use that pet framework.
That's awesome, because I'm thinking about a couple different things. Like, I feel like this round of marquee letters wasn't the best that I would want to provide to somebody. Mm-hmm. And she really did seem to like them, which I was very happy about. But I know, and I think most of us know, especially e-commerce, if you're handmade or you see that first swatch or whatever, whatever you call that, when you get like a sample or something, and it's not exactly like what you had envisioned in your mind, it's okay, it can get better and it will get better. Yeah. And so on one hand, it's okay, I'm cringing because I'm like, oh, I really wish that we could have done just a little bit better. But then I think back to the first time I shipped our photo prop boxes. Like, we have these huge boxes, and I thought, oh, I'll just wrap a box around these wooden boxes and ship it. They were so heavy that the shipping company would probably drop them all over the place. And by the time they got there, they split apart. I was like, oh, no, these are super expensive to make, super expensive to ship. And it was just a hot mess. So while I'm worrying about the marquee letters, I received a client on TikTok that had bought these photo prop boxes the same week on Etsy. And she was like, I love them. I posted it in our photographer group, like my new studio props. She put them on TikTok. She tagged me, all of this stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And I almost stopped making those photo prop boxes after that first shipping incident. And so we've got stories within our company of how things failed the first time, or maybe didn't fail, but just weren't as successful as we wanted. But then they just kept getting better over time. So I'm excited to see what is going to happen with these, because I know just right now, I'm reassuring myself they're only going to get better.
They're only going to get better. And that's the third type of case study that I totally blanked on is quote unquote failure case study stories, because you get to walk, and this applies e-commerce or service provider, digital product, whatever it is that you have. This applies because you're peeling back the curtain. You're being real with people. You're showing them the steps that you took to improve things. And hypothetically, let's say that the first marquee letter lady that you worked with, she bought the letters from you. She used them. Let's say she writes to you and she has some bit of, hey, it would really help if blank. Mm-hmm. You take that piece of feedback and you incorporate that into whatever your solution or your fix is. That speaks volumes to someone who might buy from you in the future. Because they can tell that you're someone who really cares, you really listen, and they can see the evolution of it. So even though, yes, it feels like a failure, it's actually you peeling back the curtain and really giving a vulnerable look into what's going on behind the scenes. And as a buyer, that really matters because of the reasons I said, like, especially just we can see that you care.
Right. And that feedback loop is so important because obviously you want to have the best product possible. So you have to be open to that, even though sometimes it makes you cringe or we're afraid of criticism or whatever. Yeah. It really is so valuable because when you implement it, the next person's going to say, this is so amazing. How did you even think to do that? Actually, someone else gave me the idea. Our best ideas come from our customers sometimes. Yeah, I totally love that. Do you remember when we were talking about, and I think in one of our last podcasts, about getting people to come back to our site?
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing that this triggered for me was the fact that, especially if I did an ongoing thing, or anybody listening did an ongoing, I'm adding it to the poster wall of fame or whatever, it gives people a reason to come back, especially if they entered into your page because they were looking for the thing you have, and you have this case study and examples of all the things that you've done for other people. And then guess what? If I do it for you, you will also be on here. So then they come back. They may send people there to say, hey, look, we're on this poster wall of fame or whatever. It's just a neat way to get people to come back to your site.
Yeah, exactly. Because people are going to check. If they know that exists, anyone listening, if you think back to the most recent product you purchased, if you knew that you were going to get featured for something, of course you would want to go back and check and be able to take that, screenshot it, shout it out again. So whenever you feature someone, especially when they've had a good experience, even if that started off as, oh no, these photo prop boxes burst open when you shipped them. Let's say that, I don't know how you handle it and you don't have to share it. Let's say that you
Replace
shipped them. Okay. So if that happened, like you said, then you could highlight that in the story. And the person would then still even then be excited to say, yeah, look, Crystal fixed the situation and it was such a positive experience. And they would go on and on about it. So it's an opportunity. It doesn't have to just be like a flat out failure. Oh no, my life is over. The business is going down. Like it's an opportunity.
And it's also interesting because some of these stories I feel like on one hand would be better for my site for e-commerce sellers as an audience. And some of these ideas might be better for my site, my actual e-commerce site for customers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's how do you differentiate between which story is for what audience?
Just what you said. It's what you want to think of with any kind of copywriting, but especially with case studies, is what's the end goal? Where do you want someone to go next? Which with you, user experience, like you know all about that. So what's that next action you want them to take? If you want another e-commerce seller to come in and see that you do amazing work with SEO, or see that you have really, honed in on user experience, customer experience, that's going to be like the type of story you want to tell and the SEO strategy that you want to create for that case study, because you want to attract that person. So you want to show up in the search result page that has that search intent of finding other e-commerce sellers. And then you want to bring them into the story, let them read through it. And then we want them to, I don't know, let's say book with you or read another blog where you share some educational thing about your experience as an e-commerce seller. That's one example. If we want to bring a customer in and show them, hey, these are how the marquee letters have improved over time. This is like their evolution. And here's where you can get them. That would be the call to action. Then that's what we want to do. And we want to create the SEO strategy around pulling in that audience of buyers. And the cool thing with any kind of SEO copywriting, but especially with case study copywriting, you're pulling in warm to hot leads because they're looking for the thing. And a lot of us just need reassurance before we buy.
Mm-hmm.
And this gives them that reassurance. And like I said earlier, it lets them get that try before you buy type of experience, even with products.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay. So I have one question and then a comment. What about statistics? Where do statistics fit into case studies?
So in my world, all case studies need an SEO strategy. They need a story, like we talked about, the beginning, middle, and end, and they need some kind of social proof. So that might just be quotes from people. That might be images that they send you or that they tag you in. That might be any kind of like data that you can show from your back end of, I don't even know what you might want to show, but like we've sold X amount of whatever over X amount of years, or any kind of stats. So let's say that you're writing a case study that you want to pull in other e-commerce sellers. They're going to want to see stats. They're going to want to see how SEO has helped you sell more products, for example. So we want to share that with them. Any kind of data that you're going to weave in, you could weave it in anywhere in the case study. Sometimes it makes more sense at the end of the case study where we're doing that transformation, the wrap up. Sometimes it makes more sense at the beginning. It just depends. And there's so many different things. My brain is pinging all over the place, but it just depends. I do want to also say too, that the transformation isn't always like numerical. I call it internal and external. So especially with products, I think that it's the same with services though. Here, I'll say it this way. I think the most powerful wins or transformations are the internal ones, the emotional ones, because we can all relate to feeling lost. We can all relate to feeling down and out. Let's say that you do more of that quote unquote failure case study. We can all relate to that. We can all relate to feeling like we missed the mark and wanting to succeed and find a way to save something. So don't discount those emotional wins because I really truly believe and have seen them be the more powerful wins.
Yeah. Awesome. you were talking about case studies kind of reassure people once they're ready. I was having this great conversation with a guy about ways to pull in clients for a very specific thing that he did. And as soon as he started talking, I thought of you and I was like, oh my gosh, you need a case study, because this is like talking about transactions and real estate. And I was like, they want to know, okay, if they're trying to transition or whatever out of their business, they want to know that you've done it before and that you've had success doing it before. And if you can just reassure them of that, then they're going to be sold on the process. And okay, cool. This is the person I want to talk to or whatever. And he happened to be a lawyer. And then I remember talking to someone else about it within the group. And that person was like, but if you write about it, then they're just going to do it themselves. And I think we've come to realize there's two types of people, right? What are your thoughts on that?
Just instantly, this has come up a ton with Daniel recently, with authors coming to him and not wanting to share what their book is about because they're so worried that someone else is going to steal their idea.
Yeah.
Here's the bottom line, people, because I had to have a come to Jesus moment with this. I'm sure we all have, but when you share all of the information that you're so afraid to share, whether that's your process, whether that's vendors that you use, I don't know, whatever that thing is, no one's going to be able to replicate it and do it in the way that you do it, period. Whether that's writing a book, making marquee letters, doing SEO strategies, SEO copywriting, whatever that thing is, no one is you. That is your secret sauce, period. And when you peel the curtain back, sure, you're going to have people that are going to try to do it on their own, but I've had this happen time and time again. And guess what happens? They come back to me and they're like, okay, I tried to do this on my own. I couldn't quite get it all the way. Can you help me? Sure.
Yeah.
I'm not even mad at you for trying it on your own. Go try. I hope you succeed. I really want you to. I want to put all the tools out there. So if you're in a financial position where you need to do this, the free way, try it. Hopefully you have some success. If you need me, you know where to find me. And that makes people love you so much more. That is where that know, like, trust factor comes in, because they get to see all of your work. They get to know who you are as a person. They get to know what matters to you. And really, they get to check if they vibe with you or not, which is, at the end of the day, we're buying from people that we connect with.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. So what if somebody is connecting with you right now and they're like, what with me?
First of all, I like you too. There's lots of places you can come find me. The most reliable place for the updated information is my website, which I will link that for sure. I've actually been a little less active on Instagram, I'm shocked to say, but I've really been trying to pour that time and energy and, like I said, all those resources more into lasting content, which are blogs, the YouTube videos. So definitely come to the website. I'm over on LinkedIn. I'm over on Instagram. And I'm over on YouTube now. So yeah, come say hi. Send up a smoke signal. I'll find you.
Awesome. Okay. I know this won't be our last podcast together, but like as official co-hosts or whatever, this is our last one. It's been a crazy ride. It's been a year and a half.
Yeah. I can't believe that.
Yeah. Do you remember when we first started?
Oh yeah.
Wondering if anybody was going to listen.
Turns out they like what we had to say.
Yeah. And we're coming up on 50,000 downloads right now. So that's definitely something to celebrate. Hopefully I'll be able to keep the momentum going. It has been a great year and a half, and I wish you the best with all of your twos and new podcasts. Definitely cheering you on.
Ditto.
Now I can move our conversations back to messages instead of authors. I can be back in the friend zone.
Woo-hoo! Yeah, I like keeping all of my business things in box because it helps me. It helps my brain.
Yeah, no, that's cool. All right, guys, go find B everywhere she's at, and yeah, catch you next time.
And stick around for that Simple and Smart SEO show, because you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
And we really appreciate you. I don't think we said that this whole episode, but we really appreciate you being here and sticking around.
Yeah, it's been amazing. So thank you.
We should leave now.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us today.
If you like this info, subscribe before you go, so you never miss out on something related to SEO.
See you next time.